Assalamu alaikum. I want to welcome everybody back to the Ramadan Conference 2022 from Houston. We're going to show a brief video pertaining to some things that were done there at the Masjid preparing for Ramadan. Our Ramadan Conference theme is renewed commitment to community life. That will be the theme for the weekend. And it's going to have plenty of scholars that will be presenting, community leaders, young adult panel, and the youth leadership. I want to introduce to some, and I want to bring in our next speaker. This would be Imam Chaplain Jamal Bey. He is the resident Imam of the Fort Hood Muslim community. So I present to you now Imam Chaplain Jamal Bey.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah الذي ألف بالإسلام بين قلوب المؤمنين وأوجب الاتحاد وحرم التفرق في كتابه المبين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله هدى من يشاء إلى صراط المستقيم وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد رسول الله خير داع إلى طريق القويم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين تحببت نفوسهم وتهدت قلوبهم فكانوا سادة المنصورين. أما بعد فيا عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي أولا بتقوى الله تعالى وطاعته. That is, all praise is due to Allah, who has united the hearts of the believer in Islam and has made it an obligation to remain united and has made it forbidden to become separated in his clear book. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah, who guides to the straight path whom he wills, and I bear witness that our leader Muhammad is his messenger and the best caller to the way that is straight. O Allah, send your prayers and your peace upon our leader Muhammad and upon his family and upon his companions, whose hearts were united and whose souls were educated, so that they became victorious leaders. And what follows thereafter, O believers of Allah, I advise you as well as I advise myself to first have the proper regard for Allah and thereafter be obedient to him. Dear believers, I greet you with the universal greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak. Watching that video just now makes me makes me a little homesick as I'm here in Killeen, Texas at Fort Hood, which is known, or which is said to be the great place. It's a statement that they tell you every time you come in the gate. They say, welcome to the great place. And as I watch that video and I think about this, this idea of renewed commitment to community life, I think looking at some of those small children in the pictures, I think about how this cycle continues, how at one point I was one of those small children attending Sister Claire Muhammad School before the old building got destroyed and the new building was built up years and years ago. And I see that and I think of where I am and where I came from, and I can see where this commitment to community life is something that is inherent in us, but it's up to us to make sure that we maintain it. So we are maintaining it, and some of us need to renew it. Just the same way as Ramadan, some of us came running in, and some of us came dragging in. But alhamdulillah, we are here. So just to start off, just a kind of an update of what's been happening with me. I always view, look at religious experiences like through two periods, similar like how the Prophet was. Like there was the Meccan time and there was the Medina time. The Meccan time, we look at the surahs as where the laws and the rules and all these different things that are teaching you how to improve yourself. That's what these surahs kind of, the message or the theme that they give. And as you look at the time in Medina, it starts talking about how you establish a community, about the establishment and the building up of a community and how to sustain and how to manage that. So I think about this period now that I'm in is kind of like alhamdulillah in this Medina period of where working to establish community. So I'm here in Fort Hood as a chaplain with the MPs, military police out here. And so I serve soldiers, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, some that have faith, some that have no faith, just dealing with a wide variety of issues that may come about. And so when I got here, within 10 days, it was all through the news, the issue with the Afghan refugees that came to the States. And so I was sent to Wisconsin, to Fort McCoy. We had about 13,000 Afghan refugees come in. And when I got there, it was big deal or not, is a Muslim chaplain happens to be here with the Afghan refugees. And so there was this need where it wasn't necessarily, I didn't really have time to get started on the community life at Fort Hood, but I had an obligation to assist with establishing the community life or aiding in the religious expression that those Afghan refugees had when they got in. So as I looked through there, I could see all these different themes or images of orphans, widows, people who have fled their homeland, all these themes that we see throughout the religion. And it talks about the obligation that we have towards them. And so I had to keep that in mind as I did things. And so there are different, rules and regulations that the government, that the military has to what my level of engagement was with them. But I was fortunate, alhamdulillah, to be able to play a what I view as somewhat significant role in assisting them. As soon as I got in, was thrown in meetings with people that rank a lot higher than I do. Generals, met with Congress people, showed them around. But some of the best things that I experienced while there was working with a couple of guys, folks with the State Department, in distributing making sure that they had enough prayer spaces. So we had like 14 buildings set aside for them to make prayer. And then so it was going in, making sure the buildings were looking good, making sure that the prayer rugs were in there, making sure that it was a comfortable space and that they had access to it, that it was open and they could access it when they needed. And so there were also community meetings. And so in these community meetings, some of the questions that came up was the food halal that they were eating? This was a big concern. And so I went through and checked with the contractor and brought back the certificates, the halal certificates, just so they could be, just so their hearts could be cooled to know that the army had taken the steps necessary to feed them halal foods, that their religious requirements were taken into account. And so working with these different NGOs and organizations and the other chaplains that were on ground, we had an opportunity. There were donations coming in for Qurans and for prayer rugs, and the one thing that really got me when we would pass out these Qurans, when you'd give a Quran to someone, they would grab it and they would kiss it, and it didn't matter who it was. It was, an adult, an old woman, an old man, a child. They would grab it and they would kiss it, and it made me think about the Quran apps I have on my phone, about the Qurans I have sitting in my house, of why don't I have this same enthusiasm, the same love for this book, the same love for the word of God? Why don't I have that same enthusiasm that they had? What made me or my situation different? And so this is still, helping them as they got in, building this community life, getting back to this sense of normalcy for them. And so we would pass out, we'd get boxes of prayer Qurans in. And I remember this one time we were stopping at the different prayer rooms to take the Qurans in. And a child came up, young boy came up and grabbed the Quran, kissed it, ran back into his building. And as soon as he ran into his building, about 20 people came running out, rushing to the truck for the Quran, rushing to the word of Allah. And so I have a religious affairs specialist that works with me. And he's a Christian guy. And he was like, it's like giving away free money the way they were acting. And I was like, it's better than that. It's better than this. This is the Quran. And so he got to see that enthusiasm. And there was another time we were dropping some off, and it was like people were just reaching and grabbing and fighting, trying to get the Qurans. And again, it brought me back to what's, Surah 55, which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? I'm thinking about the Qurans that I have, the apps that I have. Why am I not fighting just to get into the room where it is to read it? So we're still talking about, renewing this commitment to community life. And so we know that it's for them, they left their home. And one man said that I didn't have a Quran when I gave it to him. He was like, I didn't. He had a translator. Said, I didn't have my Quran. My Quran was in my suitcase, but it got left in some other country and I didn't have it. And so when me and my wife would argue, she would always say, you're different now that you don't have your Quran. You're always acting different now that you don't have your Quran. You don't have the chance to read it. And so he said, when he got it, he was like, this is going to help my marriage. This is going to benefit me. This is going to make my relationship better with my wife. So we're talking about renewing this commitment to community life. And so just that little piece, if that can help him, that can help his children. And so as we would walk around, we made sure that they had a place for Jamal. We got the speaker and they were out in the field. There was a big open space. And so my commander would always tell me, hey, Chaplain, you need to come see them do Jamal. It's like 800,000 people out here. And I was like, well, sir, I gotta go do Jamal myself. like I mentioned earlier, the regulations don't allow for military chaplains to lead civilians, non-DOD civilians, or family members of service members in prayer. So it's one of the other things that I had to, we had to wrestle with, but we made it through it, alhamdulillah. But being able to allow this to help facilitate this for them was important. Organizing, getting with the proper people to set up to make sure that their burials, if somebody passed away, if they were going to make sure they had a Muslim burial, and we had one incident, and I was able to contact the family and talk to them to help organize that. So this way, as they come into the States, that they had family, so they can now be connected to whatever that community is there. So this idea of building this, working on this community life. So sometimes it's not maybe our community. It's not necessarily the community that I'm a part of, or the community that maybe I lead, but it's what I do to facilitate or to help someone else facilitate establishing their community life. So we have to think about what are our roles in these different times, in these different environments. And I always tell people when they ask me, like, what was it like? I was like, the closest I can tell you about leaving that environment is it was like at the end of Ramadan. When you think of all these things that you're able to do, that Allah has blessed or allowed you to do, the series of events that have taken place in your life to get you to where you are, and there's so much blessings. It's a blessing-rich environment. It's a blessing-rich environment, and when you have to leave, when it's time to go, it's like the end of Ramadan. It's like all those blessings were there. Can I keep that same enthusiasm that I had there when I go back to my community, to where now I have a commitment to them? Now I have to take some of these practices, some of these ways of dealing with others, and that are truly suffering, and bring that back, to where back to Fort Hood. And it was fun. Just one last story on that. The little kids, I'd see them, and they'd ask me. They always, like, they were learning English. They had English class, and they were like, "How are you?" And you talk to them. They, "What is your name?" And I tell them Jamal, and they'd be like, "Juma Mubarak?" "No, Jamal." So then they talk. You're like, "You Muslim, man?" Like they'd ask me, "You Muslim, man?" I go, "Yeah. I have my uniform has a crescent moon on it, the symbol for chaplains that are Muslim." And so then they start with me. They'd be like, "Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim," and they look at me. And I'm like, "Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen." And they go, "Rahman Rahim." And I'm like, "Malik Yawmiddin." And so we go back and forth with the surahs, like they quiz me to see. And so every time I see them, they'd run up to me, and they get their friends and they get their parents, and we just recite Quran together. So it was a beautiful thing. And one of the guys was like, "They're Muslims in America?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're all over the place." So now they know that when they get here. And I was like, when you get to where you're going, look up a masjid, somebody will help you out, so they can establish that community. So now let's fast forward got back to Fort Hood here in Killeen, Texas. And like I said, it's kind of like the Medina period for me. And it's about a 3-hour drive. So I don't know. I haven't, no man Wazir talked about the Umrah trip that they made this morning. And so I'm not sure about how the distance from Houston to Killeen, how that measured up to Mecca to Medina, but I feel like that's good enough for me. So, but I wasn't on a camel. I was in a motorized vehicle. Alhamdulillah, it would have been different. Bucky's is a great place. It's a shout out to Bucky's. But so we got here to Fort Hood, and there was, and so I knew there were Muslims. This is one of the largest bases here in the States, and I knew there were Muslims, but and I knew of a few of them because I'd interacted with them before I came down, just to kind of get a feel for the land. But I knew that the community wasn't here. The community wasn't built up, and so this idea looking at my upbringing and the different leadership styles that we had coming through the masjid, and trying to figure out what is going to be my role. How am I going to do my part to renewing the commitment for community life here. And so I thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, the first thing when the Prophet, peace be upon him, when they got to Mecca, his camel walked around and sat down, and that was where he lived, and that's where the masjid was. So I was like, well, I got to find a place to pray. So that was my first step. But before anything else, I was still making contact, but I had to have a place to pray so that the believers could get together and pray. So we worked on that. Had some ups and downs. Had not really challenging situations, but just we needed to work through some things because it had been like at least 4 or 5 years since a Muslim chaplain was here, and so the personnel that was here, we had to work through some things in order to make sure that we had a spot. But alhamdulillah, we got a spot, and we had Jamal. We got it open for daily prayers for Maghrib, for Isha and Dhuhr and Asr, because that's usually the time that the soldiers were here on base. And so after we established that, then it was like, okay, well, now we need to, now that we have a location, now we need to get with the people with like mind that want to establish a community life, that want to build the community. And so there were a few brothers initially that I've been working with or had been talking to that had kind of taken the lead, of the community, and kind of organized the Eid the year prior, Ramadan. And so they said, so they got this organized, and so I got with them, and I told them I didn't want to come in and change things. I wanted to just I want to improve on what they had going. And so we began to engage one another with ideas of what we could do to improve the community here at Fort Hood. And so we got together and we began to.
Imam Jamal, we're having a slight problem with your video. I'm going to ask that you turn your camera off and turn it back on to see if we can get your video in the stream.
Okay.
We can see you in StreamYard, but we can't see you on the other platforms that we're working on.
That help?
That did not. I'm getting your icon right now. For whatever reason, we're not able to see your face. So we can continue with, and we'll put a picture up for you. But right now, your video, the video of your camera is not connecting.
Okay. Am I? Okay.
All right, and I apologize to interrupt again. Just trying to see what this unique problem is. Okay. Yeah, the Master's camera is working all right. So it's just for whatever reason, your camera still doesn't come in. I can see myself, but we just can't see you. So like I said, what we'll do is kind of throw a picture up there from our stock photos, and you can continue on, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll figure out how to work this out as we continue the weekend.
Okay to go. Okay, well, so I got with the brothers to begin to establish the community here, and so they had a group, kind of like a WhatsApp group of where they were, communicating with the believers here, and so that was the main platform aside from the one-offs that somebody would need a religious accommodation for something where their chaplain would reach out to me. We started off with, it made about 55 or 60 people in that group when we first got here. And so now, alhamdulillah, we're about 140 in, and it's a very active group. And so as I was thinking about this idea for community life and bringing in those that were hungry for the same thing, we began to establish an admin and administrators, like an administrative group. And so we have soldiers from different ranks across the post. We have sisters involved. We have lieutenants. We have warrant officers. We have sergeants, NCOs. But adding input, and so everything that we do, we take sure we as a community, we push it out to the admin, and then we push it out to the larger community, so we can make sure that we're addressing each other's needs, addressing everyone's need. So this drive for community life is strong. And I was listening to this morning, and Mademoiselle was talking about about when the prophet, peace be upon him, was receiving the revelation, and the angel Jabril was saying that it was like it would squeeze him. It would squeeze him, and he couldn't breathe. Like he couldn't breathe, and he was told, to read, like reading these signs, and he couldn't breathe, and it squeezed him. And so I thought about the Muslims, the push to increase this community life. I thought about the Muslims, and I was like, this pressure of being Muslim in the military, not just from one's background and their family or the community that they came from, the pressure that they get from them that's squeezing them of why are you in the army, why are you doing this? Then it's sometimes with some of their peers, some of their leadership, some of their subordinates, this pressure of being Muslim. Being Muslim here in America, just with that, but then the different things that they're exposed to, this pressure, and this expansion, when it finally loosens up, is because they're able to find each other. They're able to locate each other. So we find a masjid, and we establish a masjid, and now the Muslims are talking. Oh, you're in my unit. Oh, where are you from? We're from the same country. We speak the same language. Our children go to the same school. And so now this pressure is starting to release. There was this great pressure, but now this pressure is starting to release. And so they begin to enjoy each other's company and become closer. And so now as we're building, we're like, okay, well, we've got a community, and we've got to increase this community. So what do we do? Do we just now say that, well, everyone's here, and we'll just keep it where it is? We couldn't, because we have Muslims in different stages. We have some brothers here that can like when we do Tarweeh, they can lead the whole Tarweeh, and we could be there for hours. But then we have some that just want to know, well, how do I pray? Is it okay for me to pray in English? What happens if, how do I make wudu? The questions that some of us take for granted. So we have these various levels of education. So it's like, well, how do we increase the knowledge? How do we increase the viability of the community? So we begin to establish classes. So now we have a class, an Islamic studies class. And the idea before was like, well, looking at kind of where I came from, and we had an Islamic studies class at nighttime. It wasn't until one of the administrators, then she said, well, why don't we do it at lunch? And I had no argument to that. I had no argument. And so like, that's what we're going to do. So we begin to have it at lunchtime, because soldiers are available and they have schedules where they can get off. And so this was a little bit before Ramadan, so we started meeting at lunchtime. And so those 2 days, 2 weeks before Ramadan started, we ate a little lunch. You know, we haven't had lunch in a couple of weeks now. You know, but we're still getting together, and we're engaging. The class is engaging. We have non-Muslims coming to the class to sit with us and to learn about the religion. So we're increasing not only the value, the community, but the visibility. We're engaging in our external environment, and looking at this idea of renewing this community, this commitment to community life, because we want it to be established. We don't want to just have it short term. We want it to continue on. And so now we got to Ramadan. Alhamdulillah. By the mercy of Allah, we're here. And we're a little hungry. Mouth is a little dry. You know, we're a little more tired because we still have to go out and do army stuff. But now we're here at Ramadan. And so during the night, every night, we were able to find another facility. And so every night we come in and we make Maghrib. And it's a, you know, during the week, it's a humble Maghrib. You know, our iftars, we may stop at the Domino's that's right behind us and eat on the same couple of pizzas through the week. You know, it'd just be a couple of brothers in here, and we'll eat a couple of, and sometimes some will bring their family, and we'll eat on the same pizzas through the week. But Friday, alhamdulillah, we do a community iftar, and so the community is very diverse, large community, very diverse. We have from so many countries in Africa. We have people from the Middle East. We have people from everywhere. We have Americans, and so we do a potluck. And so, and I tell you, if you could get down here on a Friday night for the potluck out here, it's better than any restaurant you go to. I promise you that. And so, but this brings the community together. Last night we had about 60 people. The last week we had about 40. But we had so much food. We had so much food that everybody ate a couple of plates. They made to-go plates, took it home, and we still ate on the food through the weekend, alhamdulillah. But this was because people wanted a community. And so many people came and said, "Oh, I haven't had an experience like this since I've been in the military. I've been in for over 15 years. We haven't had a community like this." So I was like, "Oh, this reminds me of home. This reminds me of what it used to be when I was a kid. We've got children running around. You know, we're saying prayer, and children are back there doing their thing, and it shows life, and it's not a harsh environment where we're saying, kids, sit down, get out of here. It's an environment where the kids can play and they can feel comfortable, because we have to think about, just like that video that we showed before I came on, with the children helping out. These same children are going to one day maybe be in the same role that I'm in as a chaplain. Maybe there'll be a ma'am somewhere else. Maybe there'll be a community leader somewhere else. But having that engagement in that environment and not feeling pressured. They know their parents are there in a safe place. So this is the this is that idea, like, what is my role? What is my role in establishing community life? What steps do I need to take personally? You got to get educated. You have to get educated on your religion. You have to get educated about yourself. You have to be educated and confident to where now you can go and sustain some of the pressures that your community may face, that you may face, that you can sustain those pressures and still be there to assist them, still be there to want them to succeed, to be better than you. And so we do these community iftars. We're building a community. And so now we have to get out of the idea of the ego. If I want to establish and build a community and let it go on, I have to get out of the ego that what I say is the law, that I'm the only one that's going to run something. I can't take input from anybody else because of my ego. We have to push that to the side. You know, there brothers here that can recite circles around me in the Quran, and alhamdulillah, it makes the community stronger. So we pushed them out front to lead. So during this Ramadan, we've taken this thing of where during Tarweeh, that we're able to do Tarweeh ourselves. We don't need to bring somebody in. We do Tarweeh ourselves. So we do every 2 rakahs, the brothers rotate. We rotate the brothers out so they can get the opportunity, because everybody doesn't get the opportunity to come off the line and lead the prayer. Don't get the opportunity to come out and lead the congregation. So they have to get the practice in. They have to get those steps in of learning, how do I lead a congregational prayer? How comfortable am I with leading others? So that makes them want to improve themselves, make sure that they're studying up on their Quran, because I may get called out to come out here and lead. And so the talk that we have with them is that the purpose of this is that, one, you become more comfortable in leading a congregation in prayer. You can feel more comfortable leading your family. And now if you happen to leave this place, if you happen to leave Fort Hood, which they call the great place, if you happen to leave the great place and go to any other post, any other base, that you can establish and lead a community yourself. So we have to think about this idea of renewing this commitment to community life. So this commitment is that I don't want to just be here and take care of where I am. I want to make sure that I empower everybody in my space, everybody in my sphere of influence, that they can go out and lead their own community. And we saw that with the man Muhammad, right? That everywhere we go, that we can lead a community and enable others to do that same thing. So we have the brothers come and lead, and some of them great recitation. Tajweed is beautiful. You know, we do Salatul Witr after every Taraweeh. Tajweed is beautiful. Can recite surahs, you know. And then we have some brothers who are a little quieter. Some have a little shaky voice, but they still get out there. We still put them out there so they can get that practice. They may make mistakes, but they still get that practice. And we tell them that, okay, you know, it's not, let me just spot correct you. Hey, just take this idea. If you're not confident in getting out front, you're reciting the word of Allah, which means so much for you, that has done so much for you. And the person in the back, maybe the sister in the back or the child in the back, they really need that verse. They really need to hear that surah. So you need to make sure that you verbalize it to where they can hear it and they can get the same benefit, the same love that you have for it. And as we talk to the brothers about that, you begin to hear them increase their volume, begin to increase their enthusiasm. Now they're rushing to get to the front to lead the prayer, alhamdulillah. And we're just 2 weeks in. You know, so these are the things, the ideas of this renewing community life, and reaching out to the other posts to make sure that they know that they have people in their corner, that if they PCS or if they move to Fort Hood, they have a community that they can engage with. And all the bases don't have a Muslim chaplain. So it's making sure that not only taking care of here, but reaching out to the other places and helping them so that they can best practice their faith. And then as others are coming in, going to seminary, that once they have a quick plug, if you have a bachelor's degree and you want to look to become a military chaplain, you can reach out to me first off, but you go to seminary and get a master's degree in Master's of Divinity equivalent, or Master's in Religious Studies, to come on to be a military chaplain. So we've got brothers and some sisters that are in the pipeline that are working. So not only navigating the space here and assisting others, but we have to bring those up. We have to bring up those that are in school now, looking to become a chaplain. What are the best practices? What's the best way for me to navigate this environment as a Muslim? What is the best way about that? And even there, then there's the other piece of how can I what is the most efficient way of me to or you know, I'm speaking of me, but speaking of you as well, as you're thinking of how you can benefit. What is the best way? So there's there's social media, there's different mediums out there. So I do a video every week that the U.S. Army Chaplain Corps pushes out through the Chief of Chaplains page every Friday. So that the believers that are stationed wherever they may be have something that they can view, so that those that aren't Muslim can view this and see what Islam is all about. You know, so this is what it's all about, believers. It's about renewing this appetite for community life. What are the steps? What are the ways? How can I do something to benefit the religion, which ultimately is going to benefit me, which is ultimately going to, inshallah, make up for the lost time that I need to make up for. So dear believers, as we go through this, this Ramadan conference this year, as we listen to the various speakers, as we listen to the youth, as we listen to these panels, and we gain this knowledge and this wisdom and this information from them, I want us to always think in the back of our mind. What is it that I can do? What is it that I can do that will be of benefit to others, that will be of benefit to the community, and what will help me achieve paradise? So I pray that something that was said was beneficial. I pray that just a little bit you may be more renewed in your spirit for community life. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Imam Chaplain Jamal Bey. That was very good. I did pick up on the various levels of education. So that was good the way you broke that down. So we want to give thanks to you for sharing your perspective and your knowledge with the believers here at the Ramadan Conference 2022. We're going to be, and we want to thank you. So thank you for your time. And we're going to have a few announcements before we break. Assalamu alaikum, Jamal.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So we're going to break for an hour. And this is the schedule that you are seeing. We have our next, after this hour break till 2 o'clock, we will continue with Imam Asim Sharif from Austin. So we want to welcome and thank everyone for joining us for this beginning of the Ramadan conference, and want everybody to come back. Be sure to come back at 2 o'clock, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. And I want to also say we do apologize for the video portion of not seeing Jamal, but we did get a chance to hear his message. So we're going to try to get that ironed out by the time we come back, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.